It is the Randy Karraker Show on STL Sports Central. Matthew Rocchio, Randy Karraker. Wonderful to have you with us, and we are presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. Don't forget, December 1st, right here in the state of Missouri, you're going to have legalized sports gambling, and you need to download that DraftKings app.
You know what Bernie said?
What?
He said on December 1st, we become the show me the money state.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I don't know how. I think DraftKings needs to call Bernie and be like, listen, great job. We are going to steal that, though.
Yeah, I like that. The show me the money state. We've got a couple of things coming up on the show, but here we are. It's already October 2nd, and we are only 1 week away from the start of Blues hockey as they take on the Minnesota Wild next Thursday night at Enterprise Center to get the 2025-2026 campaign underway.
I like that Samuel Howe picks up on my builds of the show very quickly, because he had a bunch of texts about the title of the show, which mentions the Cardinals, but the very top of our list on the show is a Blues topic, because I'm trying to get our Blues fans. I'm throwing them a little bone here. We're a week away from the start of the season. We're not going to do this like Major League Baseball broadcasting is doing it. We care about opening night in the NHL.
You have a coach now that makes each individual better. In fact, I would argue that after Jim Montgomery took over the Blues last season, every single player, every one of the players on the Blues roster played better. And you had numbers to back this up, by the way, played better under Jim Montgomery than they had played under Drew Bannister. Not only that, but these are players that have a level of talent. You have a guy in Robert Thomas that led the National Hockey League in scoring after the 4 seasons face-off. He's a really good offensive performer who makes those around him better. They go out and get a guy like Pius Suter, who can really do some good things. He scored 25 goals last year. And then you put him with 2 really good, young, talented players like Kyrou and Holloway. You've got something else. I really like the idea of a third line that has Jake Neighbors on the left wing and Braden Shen at center. We'll see what happens at right wing. But I think that's a much better third line than last year. And then the fourth line, I love the defensive pairings. I love the fact that you've got a couple of third pairing guys that are going to be able to ascend as they go along. Hey, they'll get 9-10 minutes a night, Mayu and Tucker. But they're a tough, gritty group when you're playing a team that you don't like. You got 2 guys that can beat the hell out of the opposition. They're great for Blackhawks games. And then your goaltending is going to be solid. So if you stay healthy, what are the negatives? I'm not seeing the negatives. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm not finding the negatives. Jeremy Rutherford, talk about maybe some of these players slow down. Maybe you don't get the offensive, punch you got from Colton Parayko last year, but there's no reason to think, in my opinion, that Thomas, Kyrou, Holloway, Neighbors, Snuggerud, all those young players don't, if not push for what they were doing last year after Bannister after Bannister left and Montgomery came. They'll do the same thing, which again will give them 60, 70, 80 point seasons, depending on who we're talking about.
I don't know what Justin Falk is at this point. I don't think he'll rebound. That being said, I think Broberg, he had 8 goals and 21 assists last year in 68 games. I think he has offensive upside. We've heard about Mayu's shot. He'll find himself on the power play now and then. I think he's got a chance to score some goals for you. Tucker, they said last year before he got hurt, was coming along with his shot. So maybe there's something there. I think there are, and Fowler was a revelation as an offensive defenseman for the Blues last year. I think there'll be, if you just go by career norms, enough offense coming from the blue line to allow you to win. And I really think the key, Matthew, is going to be what they do with that third line. Could Neighbors get back to 27 goals? Could Shen be a 15 to 20 goal guy? Bjugstad, I don't know what to expect from him or Lucic or whomever, but I think that's going to be the key. Can you get enough offense out of that third group, that third line, to allow you to win enough games? All you need to do is finish third in your division, and you got a shot.
Yeah, and that's the good news with the Blues. Is that kind of where your is it the floor or the ceiling for your potential for this Blues team, or your expectations for this Blues team? Is that your floor? Is that your ceiling? Or is that just kind of right smack dab where you would put those two things?
I think that Colorado is really good. I don't know if Winnipeg can do it again. I don't know how much they freaked out last year in the playoffs, but they may have. Hellebuck obviously freaked out playing here, and they were different. I don't think that they're way more talented in Winnipeg than the Blues are. Dallas has a new coach. So I don't know how that'll work for them. So Chicago's going to be bad again. We know that. Pretty safe bet.
Yes, decisively.
So I think that there's a chance for the Blues to do some really good things. I would pick them to finish third at the moment.
That makes sense.
In the division.
Third in the division, maybe sixth overall, seventh overall in the West.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Samuel, how first or second in the Central? I would assume it's arguably the best division in hockey going into this season. It's going to be very tough. The Stars are going to be tricky. You were just talking about the fact that the Jets were, the best team in the NHL last year, record wise. I don't think talent wise, but nonetheless. So it's a very tough division. The Wild obviously just locked up, the potential of their franchise for the next, almost decade and things like that. So there's
going to be really balanced payroll.
Yeah, right. There's a lot of talent in the Central. It's going to be tough to bust that top two. But again, if everyone continues to progress the way they ought, if they just play an 82-game schedule the way they played the 60 games under Montgomery, they'll be second in the Central. And
Utah is an ascending team. They've got good young players. I don't know what to think of Nashville. Obviously, the free agent signings they made last year didn't help them last year. Maybe those guys will get into a comfort zone and find the fountain of youth this year. I don't know. And then you mentioned Minnesota. Kaprizov is a really good player, but his contract will prevent them from being able to keep other good players. But I think Colorado, they've got the two best players in the division. So they'll be the best. When you have Nathan McKinnon up front and Makar on the blue line, I mean, those are far and away the two best players in the division. I think Colorado has to be the favorites.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but it's the truth.
Yep. And by the way, Samuel Howe is right here. The real goal of the regular season is just to make the playoffs. This team is built to win in the playoffs. And I would guess that if they have a chance, depending on what happens with young players, Army is pretty good about finding a guy at the deadline, and or he's really good about standing pat at the deadline if the team commands that. If they're playing to that level, I would have to believe that he would want to have that last hurrah. What a great way to go out as a general manager if you're Doug Armstrong with winning the Stanley Cup.
Was that a shot?
No.
Okay. Well, you hit the man. What a great thing it would be as a general manager to be able to leave.
Well, because he's still going to be the POHO.
Oh, okay. That's what it was. Samuel Howe condensed schedule due to the Olympics. Yes. What is it? 19 days. I was just looking at it. 19-day break in February for the Olympic Winter Games. Milano Cortina 2026. And here's my thing. I'm okay with. I like the idea of the break this year because Binnington, goalie for the Canadians. I want my goalie playing. And not taking that break. But not a lot of the other players I feel like are going to be on their national teams, which means everyone gets to sit back, kick back, rest up for that playoff stretch run or stretch run to the playoffs after the Olympics. I really like what the Olympic break does for the Blues this year.
I do too. And with all those condensed games, that's why you need a lot of depth, and the Blues will have some pretty good young players on the horizon that if you need somebody during the course of the season, might be able to help you out. We'll see.
Where do you stand so far? I know we're going to see more of Milan Lucic, and he really has to show something in this last preseason game to maybe finally get himself over the hump. But when you look at potentially, let's not talk about making the top 12. Let's talk about making the top 14 and those extra two. Matthew Joseph, Alexander Texier, Milan Lucic, and I'm missing one right now. I'm blanking on a name right now. But
Dvorsky, right?
Yeah. That'd be one. Do you want Milan Lucic to crack those two on the roster that necessarily aren't in the top 12 in the forwards? Do you want his veteran presence? Do you want him potentially when those games get condensed and things like that? Where do you stand? Obviously, with a game left to be played, a very important game for him. Where do you stand on the Milan Lucic experiment?
I get that the Blues really like his leadership ability and what he brings to the table, but I don't think he's a guy that you can play more than half the games. He's 37. He doesn't skate particularly well. You're going to have to really spot him. If you have him on your team and play him, you're going to have to play him against teams that don't have speed, that are a little bit more gritty, that maybe he can get under their skin. But if he can still play like he did before, he's a good guy to have come playoff time.
Yeah, that's true.
But I don't know if you can get through the season with him. That's the problem. So maybe what you do is have to play the old IR game with him until you get to the last couple of weeks before the playoffs start.
By the way, I double checked our hockey talk from yesterday with Cam Jansen, and he agrees. You move Pius Suter up to the second line, and all of a sudden you have Neighbors, Shen, and Bukestad as your third line. That does get a little potentially worrisome in the lack of foot speed on that third line. So maybe one thing going forward as we look at the final line combinations in the final preseason game, and as we move towards the season opener 1 week from today.
And if they finish in third place in the division, and they're playing the second place team in the division, Dallas maybe, for a spot to advance, I would accept that. I think that would be a successful season.
Fair enough. Jay Renegade and the Blues hopeful might not have even clicked on the show because I put Cardinals in the title, and that's because, ladies and gentlemen, it's still a big story of what happened earlier this week. So I have the poll up already, Randy. You see it over there on our list of topics. The poll up right now: how many 81-win seasons will you endure for Chaim to build his contender? Because they have laid out the plan. Now, for me, the question is, will Cardinals fans accept the potential timeline? Now, as Bernie laid out in his videos this week, you don't necessarily have to put years on it. You don't have to say what it is, but at the same time, I want to know what the fans' temperature is. Because us saying they need to be a playoff team after year 4 is meaningless and pointless. The fans saying, I'm good for 2 years of this rebuild stuff before I'm going to get pissy again, that I think is actually a material thing that matters. And so the poll is up right now on YouTube for everybody. How many 81 seasons will you endure for Chaim to build his contender? I gave people 2, 3, 4, and surprisingly, I put 5, because you're an exceedingly patient person.
Okay. I will go with 3. And here's why. Because I think this was one of those years for the St. Louis Cardinals. I think that you had, obviously, the 71-win season. That wasn't a rebuild. The 83-win season, when you signed all the veteran pitchers, that wasn't a rebuild season. So this was, to me, the first year of your rebuild, giving all of those guys runway. We've run through all the players that got runway. Next year will be another runway season, but for pitchers rather than for position players. Then in 27, if there is such a thing, you should be able to ascend. You have all those young pitchers and all those young position players at a point where they should turn into good players. I'm going to presume there's going to be a 27 season. And that, to me, is when everything should start to come into focus. And then 28 would be the year where you should be a dominant team. So 25 is done. I'm going to say 26 and 27 I will accept as 500 seasons, and then 20, and I would hope for a little bit more in 27, but they should really be ready to take off in 2028.
And I will couch this again because I think this matters. How much of that depends on what happens to the new CBA in 27?
Well, you could lose a whole year. And think about how the COVID year messed up a lot of these players, and they never have recovered. I am convinced that year that Jordan Walker didn't play when he was drafted, and the Cardinals had him at that camp in Springfield, but never played a competitive game, I have every belief that set his advancement back significantly. Same thing with Matthew Liberatore in that year. Remember, he was coming here and throwing in St. Louis while the camp was going on in Springfield and the Cardinals were on the road so that he could use the facilities here. I think that was a big thing. And I think if there's no baseball in 27, when you have a relatively young team, I think it's going to hurt tremendously.
But also just how the different economic situations that baseball could be presented to, i.e., if we come out of the CBA, and Mike Claiborne has talked on STL Sports Central a couple of times on how he thinks the lockout and the strike is going to be actually owner versus owner, not necessarily player versus owner. And so let's just say we have two potential futures.
We have two potential futures
after 2027, which is a cap and or a floor, or vice versa, a cap and or a floor, or still a capless league where the haves and the have-nots have been expanding from each other. So considering those two realities, does that change? Does one of the two realities change how you would then evaluate the Cardinals rebuild post-lockout?
Okay, first of all, I think if you have a cap, you have to have a floor. If you're going to have a floor, you have to have a cap. I think they go hand in hand. But that being said, the change for the Cardinals will be, because if you're in a negotiation and you're the baseball owners and you're going to get a cap and a floor, you're going to have to give something up. That something might be expansion. It might be the 52 new jobs that you get for the union. But my guess would be that if you're going to get a cap and a floor, you're going to have to be closer to the NFL and the NBA and the NHL. You're going to have to cut back probably to 4 years on free agency and 2 years for arbitration rather than the current 6 years to become a free agent and 3 years to go to arbitration. That changes the Cardinals' calculus because all of a sudden, Ivan Herrera, he's got 2 years of service time left. And because of the new CBA, he's going to become a free agent next year. If you are the Cardinals, I think you have to plan on that eventuality. And so how does that change the Cardinals? You want to have as many young, inexpensive players on your team as possible, because let's face it, when Herrera becomes a free agent, whether it's after 4 or after 6, that bat is going to play for teams like the Mets and the Dodgers and the Red Sox and anybody else who spends money. Albert Pujols knows Ivan Herrera, right? You don't think he'll want him with the Angels if he's the Angels manager? So I think that's going to be the biggest thing, Matthew, is how does the timing of free agency affect Cardinal players? And I think that'll affect how the Cardinals run their organization.
So if there isn't, we come out with essentially a similar kind of economic situation in baseball, where again, John Mozeliak said it, which I think that was a big thing that I took from Mo's farewell. Him saying the haves and have not lines was extremely telling to me.
Well, yeah, and all we need to do is say that there's 3 teams that are right in the neighborhood of $300 million payrolls, and the Cardinals don't even have revenues of $300 million. And the Cardinals are a reasonably successful franchise. There are half the teams in the league that don't have revenues, or more than half the teams in the league that don't have revenues what those teams' payrolls are. And well, the money is fantastic, and I'm glad the players are getting it. It has caused a major chasm like that between the teams that are spending a lot of money and can afford to make mistakes and the teams that can't afford to make mistakes. Cardinals are the perfect example of a team that has spent money but has made mistakes. The Dodgers, look at all the pitchers that they have on the IL. They can afford to make those mistakes. The Yankees can afford to have a Jacoby Ellsbury on their roster. They can afford to have Garrett Cole go down for the season and still be in the playoffs. If the Cardinals lose their best pitcher, and he's also their highest paid player, or if they would lose an outfielder that has a 7-year, $150 million contract that never plays, they wouldn't be able to replace that player with another good player. They'll have to count on somebody else coming up from the minors. What do the Yankees do? They go out and sign, trade for Juan Soto, and then they're able to get Goldie. They're able to make the moves that they made to replace Jacoby Ellsbury when it doesn't work out for him.
And again, some people said, I thought, is this question, how many like 500 seasons can I do before they make the playoffs again? No, because as the Reds showed you, you can pretty much hover around 81 wins and still make the playoffs with the way baseball works. It's not about making the playoffs. It's about building a contender. One of these seasons where they win 82 or 83 games, they might slip into the wild card, but you see what the good that does you. How did the Reds fare this year against a team that spends what 3 times what they spend? Right. Not well.
Well, and especially when you look at who the players were that beat them too. Who was it? It was Ohtani and it was Betts.
Yep.
And obviously the veteran free agent pitchers.
So if your future Hall of Famers hit, you win playoff games.
It's interesting how that happens. Yeah.
What a concept. Speaking of the Dodgers, Skywalker 1982. I hope the Dodgers win it the next 2 years. The other owners will be pissed if they are coming in with 3 straight.
I hope so. Some of those owners, I like the guy in Pittsburgh, Bob Nutting. I don't know that he really does care about winning. Mm-hmm. But obviously, if the Cardinals front office people are talking about it, Bill DeWitt and John Mozeliak have talked about it. If Mo is talking about it, Bill DeWitt is thinking about it. There's no doubt, or as Mo was the Pobo. I don't think there's any question that there are going to be a group of teams that are going to say, you know what, we need a better chance to compete. And the best example I can give you guys is the Kansas City Chiefs have won 9 consecutive division titles. The Kansas City Royals went 30 years without making the playoffs. The Pittsburgh Steelers are competitive every year. They have a winning record every year. The Pittsburgh Pirates are bad every year. They don't have a chance every year. The Milwaukee Brewers are good, but on a budget. The Green Bay Packers can go out and make Micah Parsons the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of their sport. Why? Because of revenue sharing. And by the way, that's how a cap works, is the owners share revenue, and then the players get a percentage of that revenue until those owners that we're talking about, Dodgers, Mets, Yankees, several others, until they decide that they're willing to share revenue, then we aren't going to have a salary cap or floor in baseball.
Ace Rob 60.
And by the way, that goes back to Clave's comment, owners versus owners.
Yes, yeah, and that's what Skywalker 1982. I don't know if you've heard what Clave said, but he's kind of getting to that point, which is there's going to be what he thinks is that a lot of this is going to be that owners want other owners to be forced by a floor because they're tired of those guys cheaping out and ruining overall baseball. But then there's those same owners who are then going to look at the other guys and say, yeah, but then you have to have a cap because you can't keep spending $300 million when even if I wanted to, couldn't feel the team worth that much money. And so that's where Claves is saying there's going to be the battle between two groups of owners that will actually be the biggest problem in baseball.
Yeah, I
think it's fascinating.
I agree. I think that there needs to be a heroic figure to preserve the competitive integrity of baseball, like Wellington Mara, the old Giants owner who in New York agreed in 1960 to share his national TV revenue. I don't think the baseball has that person. I don't think that Mark Walter will do that. In LA, I'm pretty sure that Hal Steinbrenner won't. I'm pretty sure that Steve Cohen won't. I'm guessing that Ted Cruz with the Cubs will agree to that because they suffer biblical losses. They'd want to share. What?
Did you call him Ted Cruz on purpose?
Isn't Ted Cruz the owner of the Cubs?
Is that his name now? I thought it was. Oh yeah, I completely forgot they sold. Yeah.
Okay. No, they didn't.
I was like, wait, what?
Okay,
Did
hold
they
on.
change the name? What is happening here?
Well, okay. You
can't just throw me curveballs like this. I'm trying to keep things on
I am
the
going
path
to send
here.
you an email, and we will get to the bottom of this.
What is happening right now?
Okay. Anyway,
they suffered biblical losses.
Here, this is what you need to Google. And we'll get this up on the screen. Yeah, Tom Ricketts and Ted
Tom
Cruz.
Ricketts. I couldn't think of his flipping name off the top of my head. I'm like, why are you saying Ted Cruz? That's not his name.
That's why.
But he has. But I knew there was a T in there. I was like, did they sell to somebody named Ted Cruz? And I'm just like forgetting this. You're a jerk. Ace Rob 6583. Ace 6583 Rob. Excuse me.
Hey Rob.
If you're saying this team is 500 for the next 2 years, do you think attendance is better than next 2 years, or do you think it's the same? That's kind of why I'm asking this question, because I'm trying to figure out kind of what the appetite is for the fans for this quote unquote reset or rebuild after hearing the actual plan. Because the entire year we've been talking about runway and rebuild in the future, and we were doing it while we didn't really know what the plan was, and we speculated what the plan would be, which is rebuild the minors, draft and develop, get back to what made the Cardinals great in the first place. But actually hearing the plan and hearing him talk about prioritizing long-term success, even over consistent competing for the first few years, I wanted to get a feel for all of our listeners as to how really, how are you feeling about this? And for me right now, the majority of the votes we're getting it's been 50% say they are ready to endure 281 win seasons for Chaim to build his contender. Dropped down to 27% for 3 seasons, and then 15% for 4 and 8% for 5, which tells me that there's a group of people who are good for 2 seasons, and then there's a group of people who are good for more than that. And those are the 2 groups of people I'm seeing. And to me, we got a chat earlier, I think it was Umama, who says, aren't most players on this team 25 years old? Wynn, Herrera, Burleson, I would give them 3 years. That's kind of the number that I'm at, especially when you consider you might lose one of those years of actual on-field development to a strike or a lockout. I'm at 3 years. For me, it's when the first season that I would say you are failing in your goals is if they don't hit 88 wins by the 2028 season. That would kind of be my, or 2029 season, excuse me. That would kind of be my, like, if I had to put hard numbers on it. It's dumb to do, but I'm going to do it anyway to kind of define the argument. Sure. Here. I would put it at like 88, 90 wins by 2029, or else something is wrong. The moves you're making, how you're stirring the soup not cooking it correctly. Something's got to change. You got to pivot because it's not working at an expedited fashion enough.
Well, I know that Cardinal fans don't want to hear this because they've heard the word patience enough and they don't want to be patient. But one of the things that Chaim talked about the other day is not getting over your skis and not rushing things. And he said sometimes when you don't make those outrageous moves, you're going to get better more quickly anyway. And I look at what happened with the Orioles, and they went from 52 wins to 83 to 101, and they got really good really fast. They thought, oh, we're close, but they weren't as close as they thought. And then they gave up a couple of prospects to get Corbin Burns, and then they dropped down to 91 wins. And then Corbin Burns leaves and they don't replace him, and here they are as a 75-win team that fires its manager. I do think that the Cardinals don't need to succumb to the public pressure of saying, you got to sign a free agent, you got to make a trade. I think that you need to respect the process here. I think that's really important.
You just tell me to trust the process?
Yeah.
I'm too much of a basketball fan for me not to call bullshit on that phrase.
Now, the guy got fired. He's gone. Why do people think that the process is Daryl Morey? It's not.
Was it Colangelo?
No, it was who was the Sixers GM that got whacked? He was a process guy. It wasn't
Daryl Morey. It was the guy. Yeah, it was.
The guy before him.
Why can't I? The guy with the big collars. Oh, I'm blanking on this name. This is bad. I'm really going to be mad at myself. You're going to say it. And I'm going to. Yeah. You're going to give me for the second time this show.
The guy that drafted Embiid and all of that.
I'm going to make. I'm going to go back and make the MegaMind minigames questions a lot harder now.
Oh, okay. Good.
Sam Hankey. That was it. Okay. People did want to give it to Daryl Morey, but yes, Sam Hankey. Trash. Yeah. Gary White. Plus, with a cap in a profitable league, will always go up year to year. So eventually, small market teams will revert to crying poor anyway.
Well, can you? Okay, let's see.
Here we go. Sorry, I'm going to go back. Gary White had a longer chat from earlier. Okay. No, Randall. The NFL cap isn't a cap. Smart teams push money back. Do they have new money? So they have new money to spend every year. Saquon Barkley made $4 million last year. Micah Parsons' cap number went down with his exit. Plus, with a cap. In a profitable league, it will always go up year to year. So eventually, small market teams will revert to crying poor anyway.
Well, I'm not seeing that with the NFL. I'm not hearing the Chiefs who have to pay.
No, the Bengals are just poor. They're not crying poor. They're just poor.
But they still signed two guys this offseason. Yes. One of them at the time being the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the league, and one of their others being one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. Plus, they're giving Trey Hendrickson $30 million. It is a salary cap. A team can't go out in the NFL like the Dodgers do and spend $300 million. And the cash is still the cash. I think that's one thing. That is not monopoly money that they're dealing with. When a guy like Micah Parsons gets $130 million guaranteed, he gets $130 million. So you might not think it's a cap because teams move money around, but the fact of the matter is it is a salary.
Land free adventures. I would prefer Bloom trade anyone with value with a few exceptions, Wynn being one of them, and make this team his own.
Well, a lot of these guys, remember, he was watching the system during the course of the 2024 season too. And he knows, and he spent a lot of time, by the way, with the team on the road this year too. He knows who he likes and who he doesn't like. And I don't necessarily agree with the idea of trading players that have shown you that they can be productive. What are you going to get if you trade Ivan Herrera? What hitter are you going to get that's better than him? What prospect hitter can you say, yeah, we're trading Ivan Herrera because that guy's a better hitter? Or Brendan Donovan. We know what Brendan Donovan is. Who are you going to you go out and trade Brendan Donovan for two prospects? Who are the prospects that you're going to get that are better than Brendan Donovan?
I don't see why the Orioles wouldn't give us Adley Rutschman.
They'll move him this offseason.
And he actually plays catcher. Although maybe he can't.
Yeah, so we could have 6 on our roster.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah, so, yeah. He's a good player, and they were talking, by the way, when Baltimore was about kind of rotating the two catchers between first base, DH, and catcher.
Like Blaze Jordan, Quinn Matthews, Liam Doyle, Josh Baez. Most of these guys are in Double-A up in 2 years with at least a year to mature in the majors. That's why I think 3 years is a reasonable time frame.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I do think, though, you have to look at that Springfield team. They won a championship in Peoria. Same group of guys moved up to AA and won there. I don't know how many of the players will be good, but that was one of the things about that Peoria team that won the championship with Chris Duncan many years ago, is that many of those guys wound up being a big part of the 2006 World Champions.
This is dirty work from Samuel Howe. He says, Randy, sounds like you're more of a Brolio guy. I prefer that younger guy, Brock.
Well, the thing, Lou Brock had played like 4 years in the majors by the time you got him. You had a pretty good idea of what Lou Brock was.
Yeah.
We're talking about trading for prospects.
Complete unknowns.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, Lou Brock had already hit 20 home runs in the majors by that time. And he might have stolen 40. Let's see here. By the time the Cardinals had acquired Lou Brock, he hadn't had the big home run season, but he had stolen, let's see, 16 and then 24 in 1963. By the time the Cardinals got him in 1964, he had stolen, and that was June 15th that they got him. He had stolen 10. He wound up stealing 33 more. He had been a pretty good player, actually, for the Cubs by the time the Cardinals acquired him. And he was in his third full season in Major League Baseball. So he had a pretty good idea. He played 123 on 148 games. So you had a pretty good idea of what you were getting.
Ace 6583. Yeah, I'm definitely going to support the team and give Bloom a fair chance, but it's tough because it already feels like they've been losing for a long time now.
Well, they have. I mean, it's been 2 years since they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is a long time. But I wonder if people will.
3.
Yeah, they made the playoffs.
23, 24, 25.
Yeah. 24, 25, he didn't. 23 was our Goldschmidt MVP, Arenado third, Albert Pujols, right?
No, it's 22.
22. Okay.
Yeah, so it's been 3 years.
Oh, yeah. So you've had 71 wins. Yeah. Sorry about that. 71, 83, and now 78 wins. So, yeah, 3 straight years of scuffling.
Gary White's going back and forth with you on the NFL cap. Yeah, teams push back money to create new money. Eventually, that number will hit the books just years later. It's why players redo their contracts, more money up front, lower cap hit, dead money years later.
Whatever.
Did you ever cover any of the times that Tom Brady did that?
The point is that the system in the NFL allows teams like the Packers, Steelers, Vikings, Chiefs in markets that aren't New York, Los Angeles, Chicago to succeed, and it doesn't guarantee success to New York Jets and Giants, LA Chargers and Rams, Chicago Bears. There are certain guarantees that you get in baseball when you spend a ton of money. Not every year. You obviously have the Mets this year, but they were in the NLCS last year. The Yankees make the playoffs pretty much every year. The Dodgers make the playoffs pretty much every year without a cap. In baseball, just compare, I guess the best comparison I can make for you is the Royals, who are limited financially, and the Chiefs, who get to share 100% of the national television revenue. That's what I'm talking about.
Also, he has another comment here about how the Eagles have $200 million in dead cap coming up, and I guarantee they won't suck. Listen, people kept saying for years that the Saints were going to just keep skirting by every season with this cap crap that they were doing, and it was never going to come home. It was never going to take over. And then look at the Saints for the last 3 or 4 years. They've been an absolute cap hell. It's hamstrung them from being able to make moves on the edge. And the fact that they haven't been able to draft a quarterback has been problematic and has made it worse. But you can skirt things for a long time, and having good drafting always makes it easier. The fact that the Eagles can let big name defensive players walk and just simply reload them. Same thing with offensive linemen or retire for that matter. That's what good drafting helps you with. That's why the Saints haven't had that to make it the landing softer. But you see a team that pulled that for 6-7 years, and it did finally hit them pretty freaking hard.
Show me the consistent contention over the last 30 years of the Kansas City Royals and the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Minnesota Twins. Just show me that consistent contention, and then compare it to the NFL and tell me that I'm wrong.
You mama, a cap would be fine. The bigger team could just give the players side jobs they don't show up for.
Oh, that's a good idea.
The point is they are now under investigation for circumventing the
cap.
There it is.
There you go. Hey kids, get ready because Missouri is almost ready for legalized sports gambling. And DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is coming soon to the Show Me State, and you can sign up today. New Missouri customers can get $300 in bonus bets when we launch on December 1st. Download now and place a $5 bet when we go live. DraftKings Sportsbook brings everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning-fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. And when we officially go live in Missouri, you're going to be betting with the Sportsbook app trusted by millions. Safe, secure, and has fast money withdrawals. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code STL Sports to grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when we go live on December 1st. That's code STL Sports in partnerships with DraftKings. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, Randy, we got a little segment here because I got a question for you.
All right.
You've been watching the MLB playoffs these last few nights, right?
Yes.
So as you watch these MLB playoffs, I want to do a little segment here that I'm calling Hope or Nope.
Okay.
So the MLB playoffs are giving us a little perspective here. So we're talking about the Cardinals. How long will this rebuild take? So as you watch these teams, say other than the Dodgers, in the Major League Baseball playoffs,
Yes.
does it give you hope that the Cardinals maybe aren't as far away from contention as we thought? Or is it a nope and it's just proving to you and showing to you that there's a canyon between the Cardinals and the actual contenders
There's
in Major League Baseball?
Always hope. I absolutely have hope rather than nope.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. As you're watching these teams dominate?
Yeah, and we haven't seen the Brewers yet, but if the Cardinals play their cards the way that they need to be played, then absolutely they have a chance. Who's the best player on the Seattle Mariners?
Julio Rodriguez. Sorry, Cal Raleigh. My bad.
Cal Raleigh.
My apologies. Sorry.
They developed both of those guys. Detroit had some really rough years, much more rugged than what the Cardinals had to endure. And there's Detroit sitting there with a chance to advance. Cleveland, obviously, as we know, much of their system was overseen by two Cardinals guys. Larry Day, the Cardinals farm director, Rob Cerfolio, the Cardinals assistant GM, both came from Cleveland. Oh, by the way, Seattle with one of the best starting rotations in baseball, that in part developed by the Cardinals' new pitching coordinator, Rob Pierpont. So can I see it? Boston, even though Robin Anthony is hurt and Marcelo Mayer is hurt, one of the big reasons is that they're here where they are right now, and Wilyer Abreu, guys that were acquired during the Chaim Bloom administration in Boston. The reason that they had the number one farm system at the beginning of this season in Boston is because of players that were procured during the Chaim Bloom administration there. And then Cincinnati has to give you hope, even though they have the stud pitcher in Green and they have the stud player in L.A. De La Cruz. You just have to hope that the Cardinals can come up with those guys.
Does them getting run out so easily by the Dodgers in the wild card make you think about, like, yeah, we could be where the Reds are, but where the Reds are isn't a contender. It's a playoff team, not a contender.
Yeah, no, because the Dodgers, we've seen it before. They can lose. They're awesome. But all it's going to take is one injury to Shohei Ohtani, and they won't be as awesome anymore.
See, my thing is just there's got to be a line. Like, the Reds are a playoff team, but the Reds aren't a contender. So
No.
I'm not comparing. That's not the comparison I'd be making. It's like the Cardinals to the Brewers or the Cardinals to the Indians, like a team that is an attainable contender level squad. You believe the Cardinals aren't that far off?
Well,
relatively.
Yeah, I would say within 3 years with what they're planning, I think I could see them being a team that can win. And the randomness of baseball still does exist at times, not as much as it did because of the disparity in payrolls and the disparity in the number of quality players. I mean, the Dodgers have 3 former MVPs. They have Shohei Ohtani, they have Freddie Freeman, they have Mookie Betts. All have won Most Valuable Player awards. Not many teams, and they were all acquired because other teams couldn't pay them. The Red Sox traded Betts because they couldn't pay him. The Braves didn't think they could pay Freddie Freeman because of his demands. And then obviously Ohtani wasn't going to be paid by the Angels. So the Dodgers are a different animal altogether because of their 3 MVPs. But Those are 3 MVPs that are also in their 30s. So you never know when it's going to end for the Doyers.
You never know when it's going to end for the Doyers. That's fair. Randy, we brought back a little bit of a game here today.
Let's play.
We have some MegaMind mini games to get to today. We have 2 different mini games, and Wilson, I'm going to need some help here, just kind of clicking through when I give you the signal. So we have 2 of the mini games. We have Eagle Eye and we have Contextual History.
Okay.
So we're going to start off with Eagle Eye right off the bat. Okay. And so we have 2 different sequences of questions today. We have 2 lists of 5. One of them is the St. Louis Cardinals' last 5 playoff series. And the other one is the St. Louis Cardinals' 5 longest tenured GMs / Pobos. So we're going to start here on the left, Randy, and we're going to go through the Cardinals' last 5 playoff series. Right out of the top, they lose in 2022. Who was that to?
It's Phillies, Dodgers, Padres, Nationals, Braves.
God, you didn't even blink. Didn't even need to take a break. Ripped off all 5 right off the bat, just like that. They lose to the Phillies 2-0 in 2022. They lose in just the 1 game to the Dodgers in 2021. They beat the Padres, and that's not in the wild card. That was a divisional series, 2-1 in that series in 2020. They lose to the Nationals in 2019 in the NLCS. They get swept 4-0, and then they beat the Braves that year in the National League Division Series 3-2 to move on to that year's National League Championship Series. So no problem there from Randy Karraker. Let's move on to our next slide because we have to ask the next question, Randy Karraker. Move on to the next one, Wilson. You're good. Move on to our next one, and it's going to be the St. Louis Cardinals' 5 longest tenured GMs with 24 seasons.
Who's Is it Branch Rickey?
Go ahead and hit that next button there. Nicely done, Randy Karraker.
So
Branch Rickey gets number 24. And Bing Devine and who's 5th? Just crazy names. Bing Devine, 20 years across 2 stints with the Cardinals. 3rd longest tenured GM / Pobo for the Cardinals at 19 seasons.
Looks like Mo.
It looks like Mo. It looks a lot like John Mozeliak. That's because it is John Mozeliak.
And then Walt. Right?
And then 14 seasons is going to be. I went to say Walt Jock. I don't know why I put Whitey Herzog. I just misspelled that. I was writing down the things. It was all in my head.
Walt Jock are spelled so closely. I understand.
It wasn't a spelling mistake. It was. I was writing down things and my brain fart. Yeah, I brain farted. What they're both W's. I started typing Whitey Herzog, and never in my mind did I say that was weird.
I would not have gotten William
Walsingham Jr., who is the 5th longest tenured GM. He was the one who took over for Branch Rickey at the end of his 24-year-long term. I don't think the Cardinals were really worrying too much about who was in that job necessarily after Branch took over, and they were like, yeah, sure, he's doing fine. Something tells me he kind of went to town on the system that Branch Rickey built.
And by the way, how about that level of stability when you think about Mo and Walt? Those are back-to-back guys, so that's 33 years with 2 Pobo / general managers. That's pretty that's pretty good stability for a franchise.
All right, we got our next one. This one's going to be a little bit harder because we got a lot of big MLB playoff moments. Had us feeling a little bit nostalgic. So I went back to a Cardinals wild card win in 2006.
Okay.
This is their clinching win over the Padres in that first divisional series. In that game, the game was tied 2-2 going into the 6th inning. The Cardinals would score 4 runs, and they would scamper off to a 6-2 win in, I believe, game 4 against the Padres for a 3-1 series victory. They would then go on to face the Mets and then, of course, win the World Series facing off against the Detroit Tigers. So this is the rally in the 6th inning that sends the Cardinals through the NLDS and to the NLCS to face off against the Mets. So 6th inning, going up against Woody Williams in this inning, by the way, to start it. Albert Pujols steps up and is walked in 5 pitches. Jim Edmonds steps up and flies out to left field. And then this Cardinal steps up to hit an RBI triple to right field.
Well, the logical choice, and I don't think it's right, is Scott Rowland.
He was not playing in that. He was not in that game. No.
Okay. So, Sotaguchi?
It is not Sotaguchi. I'm sorry, sir.
It's
got a good name though.
Okay. Let's see. Wani. He was done by then, wasn't he? 06. No, that guy was gone. Let's see who was playing. Oh, no, it wouldn't have been him. A triple? No, they wouldn't have hit Yachty there at that year because he only hit 218 or whatever. So
Yachty happens later in the inning, by the way.
Yeah, okay. Okay, 2006.
I will say this.
Yeah.
You already said the name, you just didn't guess it.
Oh, okay.
So you parsed through it and you said, nah, not him.
Oh, now I got to go through all the people that so we said Yachty is later.
Yachty's a little bit later on in the inning. He singles
Juan
down there. It was in fact Juan Encarnacion who knocks a triple.
Okay.
He puts the Cardinals up 3-2. Ronnie Belliard goes to the plate. He is hit by a pitch, and then we have another player steps up here to the plate, and he would hit an RBI single to center field.
Okay, so I'm guessing that we're down the lineup here.
We are
so
moving down
after
the lineup.
Yachty was probably a pinch hitter. So the bottom one is probably Eckstein.
Go ahead and hit it.
Right?
It was actually Scott Spezio. I'm sorry. We had a guess in the, we had a guess in the chat from Scott Spezio. This could be Ben. I was going to give you this. Could be nicely done by this. Could be Ben pulls up Scott Spezio on that one.
Yachty. No, I had Eckstein for the bottom.
Yachty or Molina would then signal to right field. So things are all full. After Yachty or Molina, we get a fielder's choice that sends in the third run of the inning and the fifth run for the Cardinals.
And this is game 4.
Game 4.
And would that have been so?
That was not so. You had
hitter, right?
You had it was not a pinch hitter.
Oh.
That's the crazy thing to me. Sixth inning with just a 4-2 lead. They did not pinch hit.
Okay. So was it Carp?
It was in fact Chris Carpenter who stepped up and put down the bunt for the fielder's choice. He did not get an RBI because they played the bunt, and it was E5 on the throw to home to score Ronnie Belliard, which then leads the Cardinals up to get one more run. And this was on a 2-3 sacrifice play, also on a bunt.
And that was Eckstein.
And that was, in fact, David Eckstein.
Yeah.
That was the breakthrough inning in the breakthrough sixth inning for the St. Louis Cardinals in their wild card win in 2006. Their round 1 wild card win at the time over the Padres, a huge sixth inning that would obviously spark them to go on to win the World Series.
Yeah. Come on, let Sotoguchi play.
That's the thing that jumped out to me is I could not believe. And the big thing is that Carp wasn't exactly blitzing through the Padres. They were getting hits pretty consistently every inning and putting him into some trouble. They obviously had scored 2 pretty early. I'm kind of surprised he kept rolling with Chris Carpenter, but obviously,
it worked.
I mean, I guess at that point you're thinking we're already up by 2 runs. Are you really thinking you're going to let that go with you did have a rookie closer though.
Yeah, you did.
That's
you had a pretty good bullpen.
You had a pretty good bullpen.
Yeah. So,
but how about that? Albert Pujols, Jim Edmonds, Juan Encarnacion hits the triple. Scott Spezio with that magical second half of the season and into October that we all know and love. Young Yachty or Molina getting a clutch hit. Chris Carpenter, and then David Eckstein finishes it out, and that is contextual history, is what I like to call that one. There, good job, Randy Karraker. You did an impressive job across our trivia questions today. I did not think. I thought maybe I asked Joe Roderick. I like to ask these around to see if I'm putting together good ones, or if I'm asking ones that are too hard, or heck, when it comes to you, Randy, make sure I'm asking ones that aren't too easy. And he memory hold of the Padres series from 2020 completely. He was sitting, he couldn't figure out what the fifth one. I was like, no, the 2019 ones are 4 and 5. You're missing the third one in the middle, and he had completely memory hold the Padres one. I could have made the GM
year,
could have made the GM ones harder, I guess, a little bit harder.
No, that was fine. I was fine. I was good with those.
We have Jed Stugart is going to be joining us here in about 5 or 6 minutes. Talk about the Lindenwood Lions. One other Cardinals thing that I wanted to dive into, because we had Wilson pointed this out to us, which is we've listened to a lot of Pablo Torre Finds Out.
Uh-huh.
And one of the people that Pablo Torre has on consistently on his episodes is former baseball executive David Samson. And usually, especially when the Kawhi Leonard stuff has been coming up, having a former executive has been an interesting look into some of these stories. But David Samson also has his own podcast. And today on his new episode of his podcast, he asked the question about what happened to the St. Louis Cardinals. And here's him talking about some of Bill DeWitt's comments from the presser.
Right. We've always been there. What happened now? Well, what happened now is it's a different generation of people. What happened now is people in St. Louis, there's a lot more to do in St. Louis than there used to be. What happened now is 8,000 people from 2024 to 2025 decided every single night that I will make a different choice. That's 8,000 people making a choice they hadn't made in a decade, more than a decade, 2 decades, multiple decades. When your attendance drops by 8,000 people, just know that you can't give the standard ordinary drivel. You can't just give lip service to that. You have to say what Bill DeWitt said, and it's painful. And it gets you in trouble. Because now, what are your salespeople going to do? When your salespeople are calling up potential customers, potential season ticket holders, potential group ticket holders, potential individual ticket holders, and they say to you, I don't want to buy yet because I want to see whether your team wins. That's page 1 of our sales sheet. When someone says we don't want to come to a game until we know they're going to win, we then say, hold on. Give me the top 5 reasons that you go to games. Camaraderie, time with family, time with coworkers, being part of a community, feeling pride. Wait, where's winning the game in that?
David Samson. Interesting. What are St. Louisans doing? What are 8,000 St. Louisans a night doing that they weren't doing 6 years ago in St. Louis?
I have no, that's the weirdest part of this take to me, is saying that clearly people in St. Louis have a lot of better things to do every night than they did 10 years ago.
If he would have said something like, hey, disposable income is being used on St. Louis City SC and Mizzou tickets, I could have bought that. But not that there's 8,000 people a night that are doing something different.
No, because we know from the TV ratings that they're not doing it. They're simply choosing a way to watch the Cardinals game that's a little bit more frugal.
Yeah.
Because to your point, it's about spending money, not necessarily about caring about the team. Because people still want to watch the Cardinals. People still want the Cardinals to be good. They just don't want to give money to DeWitt after the comments he made. Or they don't want to deal with whatever reasoning is for you don't want to go down to the ballpark. I just think it's David Samson's take was also that baseball's not going to like that Bill DeWitt III said what he said at the presser, which I thought was a very interesting take.
Yeah, especially because as has been noted by Buster Olney in the past, Bill DeWitt Jr. is considered by many to be the godfather of baseball. Nobody has a more direct line to Rob Manfred than Bill DeWitt does. And maybe one of the reasons that the Cardinals have taken the approach that they have is that they know something that's going to happen with the upcoming CBA. But no, Rob Manfred isn't calling Bill DeWitt III or Bill DeWitt Jr. and saying, hey, you screwed up. He's saying, what can I do for you? Let's always remember David Samson. And I know it's been a while since you've been a president of a baseball team, a very unsuccessful baseball team, I might add.
There it is.
But remember, the commissioner works for the owners, not the other way around.
Yeah, and so it was a little weird that he was like that. He was almost saying that like we were going to see him get like his hands slapped for talking about that the way that he was, and I thought that was a very odd take from Samson. But also his take there was that people aren't thinking about going to Cardinals games and seeing a bunch of losses. They're thinking about the memories they make, and here's the thing: I see we talked about in the chat. We brought up John Mozeliak's comments about parking and safety. We brought up Bill DeWitt III's comments about parking and safety and concession stands. Almost every fan I've seen was yelling from the rooftops, I care so much less about all of that then I don't care about the game day experience. I care about my team being a winning ball club.
Right.
So I thought it was really weird that David Samson took the complete opposite thing that we're hearing from the fans directly, which is he was saying, no. When it comes down to it, it's not about winning ball games. It's when you call people to get those ticket recoups, you go through the next few things, which is about game day experience. I know that the Cardinals are thinking that. I just what I'm seeing from the fans, they don't agree, and maybe this is one of those things where your thought process and your actions are different. Whereas maybe fans do think that way, but they're lying to themselves.
And he's in Miami. He was an executive with the Marlins. He should know better, and maybe he doesn't because they never won to draw fans, but they never had a game day experience that drew fans either. The Lindenwood football team getting ready to take on UT Martin over at Hunter Stadium. It is a 1:00 in the afternoon game on Saturday on the campus of Lindenwood University. And there is the head coach of the Lindenwood Lions, Jed Stugart. Coach, great to have you with us. How you doing?
Hey, Randy, good to be back with you, man. I'm doing great.
Good. How are preparations going for Saturday?
Well, we've had a good week. Getting ready to head out. We're starting practice here shortly on our Thursday practice, which is kind of what we call a polish day. We got to hop around a little bit, but not a real long practice today. So it's a playoff game. We kind of treat it, conference game. We treat it like a playoff game. I mean, we're 1-0 in our conference right now in our association play, and we got another good opportunity Saturday to play another conference opponent. So that's kind of how we're treating it.
You went to Oxford, Ohio last week and played a tough Miami of Ohio team and got thumped pretty good. Are there positives for a program where you guys are and players where your players are? Are there positives to be drawn from a game like that? I know it's good financially for the institution, but I mean from a football standpoint.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it was kind of, it's one of those games where it probably wasn't real indicative of how we played, the score. I was really kind of proud of how so many aspects of that game. Our defense actually played really well, but we gave up a block punt, which resulted in a touchdown. Our defense, and we go into halftime, at 17-0, and one of those was a block punt. And so, yes, tons of positives. The reality is we had 54 offensive plays to their 74 offensive plays, and offensively we just couldn't move the ball on the times we needed to. We'd move the ball, but then first downs that we needed that we got behind the chains on, and you can't do that. First of all, their defense was really salty. I got to hand them a lot of credit. The good team, especially their defense, was. They should win a lot of football games with that defense that they have. It just made it tough on us. A lot of adversity that we can learn from in that, and things but even against a FBS opponent, there's certain things you can't make certain mistakes against good teams like that. That's what we're going to face this Saturday. UT Martin is a very good football team. They're going to be big and physical, just kind of like what we saw Saturday. And so let's learn a little bit from Saturday. You can't get behind the chains. You can't get behind in points. You gotta match blow for blow with teams like that because I know we had a big comeback win in our first game against Charleston Southern, and no offense, but we're not going to be able to get behind UT Martin team and be able to count on that.
For you guys, I know obviously, when it comes to this program, it's all about building it up as you hit the D1 level. So for you, I know 10,000 foot view for this season. What was the Lindenwood Lions overall goal as you move into another year in D1?
Well, just another step forward. I think, we kind of felt like, by year 4, we really felt like all the things that you have to go through, you got to look at it like that. And we're kind of in year 3 as a full-time member per se. But I feel like our expectation is that we need to be contending for a conference championship. We've beat teams in this league that maybe people didn't think we'd be able to beat yet. And so we were able to do that last year. We've taken, what I really like about this team is we're a very young football team, which is fine. It kind of excites you about your future, but we have guys that we have a mixture of both. We have guys that youth should not be our excuse this year. So you got to teach a lot of lessons. You got to coach constantly with this team this year because there is a lot of youth, a lot of guys that you feel like you're coaching things you never dreamed you'd have to coach, and that's sometimes it. So I feel like we should, and we'll find out Saturday, because this is against a conference co-champion and of last year, and this we get to find out just kind of where are we sitting right now in our conference. With the team and being able to see how we play Saturday, it'll give us a good chance to see that.
Considering how the portal works and everything right now, have you changed the way that you deal with a young roster? Because I know 5-10 years ago, if you had a young roster, you maybe would say, okay, we have 2 years, we can work on some things this year and have a plan for across 2 years. But now, can you have the same 2 or 3 year plan with a player, or does it become more about a year-to-year plan that maybe changes depending on his, where he's at and who you guys bring in the next year?
Yeah, the portal's changed a lot of that. I mean, I think we still kind of feel like our we're kind of staying in our lane when it comes to how we're going to recruit, how we're going to develop. We still are excited to recruit a majority of high school kids, develop them. We understand that, if you develop them and they have a really good breakout season, there's a good chance they might get an opportunity to move on and somebody's going to come poach them. We understand that. But I think for the most part, we're going to kind of stick with that plan. I think, you look at our offensive line right now, three of those guys are redshirt freshmen, they've only played 5 football games in college. So, boy, that's exciting to think about it because they keep getting better this year. And then boom, next year, feel like we have a good chance to have all those guys back going into next year. And that's kind of how when we got here at Lindenwood and when we got our back-to-back conference champions, a few years ago, in Division II, that was the model. Was we were going to recruit, develop, and then kind of like you felt like you had this team that just was constantly coming back. We know that kind of changes a little bit with the portal because kids can get some success and go, hey, I'm going to kind of leverage this year that I had. We get that. That's going to happen. But, we feel like we've got pretty good depth on our team and young depth that can step in when guys decide to do that. And that's kind of what we did this year. Like losing Jeff Caldwell to Cincinnati, a great opportunity for him. But, man, to be honest with you, we've had receivers really step in, and even it's been distributed. Drew Crobath, Rico Bond. We've had Jalen Smith. I mean, these 3 guys have really stepped up into that and been more targets for Nate, not just Jeff, where he got a little isolated on Jeff a lot last year.
And Rico Bond, the East St. Louis product, redshirt freshman, 25 catches and averaging 13.1 a catch. He's pretty explosive. And that's one of the guys, when I come to your games, Coach, I love to watch him play.
Yeah, and he's a fun guy to watch. He's a fun guy. And last week, we needed him. We've challenged him a lot for this week because I think last week, anytime you have a young receiver like that, who's, again, a redshirt freshman, who cares? He's coachable. But sometimes, if things aren't happening immediately, he's got to hang in there and keep grinding a little bit. I think we saw that a little bit last week. Is don't get discouraged if ball doesn't come right to you. Be ready to go. We really need him to really step up again this week and feel like he wants to rise to the occasion a little bit and get back on that production side.
A couple of more things. Number one, this weekend will be Youth Day at Lindenwood. Tickets available at Hunter Stadium. Tell us about what Youth Day entails.
Well, Youth Day, just a great, we're trying to like crazy. We love our community here in St. Charles. Anytime we've been a little bit more intentional this year, I think, as an athletic department, as a school, to reach out more to our community. We want to be leaders in that community. And so Youth Day having, kids from all over coming out to the game, come and enjoy, watch some college football, make it a big family day. So again, 1:00, and we hope to see a lot of our youth out here celebrating, looking in football uniforms, whatever they're doing to celebrate Youth Day. We're looking forward to seeing them at 1:00 on Saturday.
And we've been watching some of the opponents. We've noted Miami of Ohio, Missouri State moving up to FBS this year, and lo and behold, an announcement today. Did you see this? You're playing Missouri State next year?
Yeah, that's been in the works just a little bit. We were supposed to play them this year. They had to get out of our game this year because of their FBS move, and that's the reason why we picked up Appalachian State. And so, so we got a little bonus, when they couldn't play us. That helped us. And now they're going to play us next year. And we're excited to go back there. We played them last year, had a good experience over there, and so. The ever-changing world of scheduling college football, man, never ends. But yeah, knew this was coming down the pipe a little bit.
Finally, do you think your players are looking around saying, "Hey, where's Coach? What's he doing? Is he doing media? What's going on here?"
Yeah, I don't know if they care half the time. I see we're doing, as we speak, we're doing our field goal warm up and execution here a little bit. So. I'll let you know if we make the field goal or not. But yeah, we're just doing a little walkthrough stuff. And Thursday's a little bit more toned down, a little shorter practice. We try to do more polished stuff. And then Friday we actually pick it back up with pads on, and we've kind of reversed the Thursday Fridays a little bit. So a lot of science now in football practice, man. I tell you what, a lot different than 25 years ago when I was playing.
Yeah. By the way, for people that aren't aware of it, Adam Vinatieri's son is your backup kicker. What sort of a future does he have?
Well, yeah, Adam, AJ, love having AJ here. It's been fun having Adam at our games. Very consistent. I think he's, and I don't know if that's always the best stat to have. If your punter's killing it with a lot of attempts, right? That's kind of what we got to take some attempts away from him a little bit. But when he's hitting them well. Very consistent, amazing kid too. We've really enjoyed having him. And there's going to be a neat piece Martin did on Channel 2. They're doing a little special on Adam and AJ that got an interview, so people can be kind of looking out for that. That tells kind of a fun story about their relationship and how we got them here. And as a Bronco fan, Adam Vinatieri broke my heart a lot, as he's broken a lot of people's hearts. But
you're in St. Louis too.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring that one up, so I thought I'd talk about the Broncos. Probably didn't hurt ours as big as it hurt the one here in St. Louis, but neat family though. Yeah,
good. So, hey, Coach, good luck this weekend.
The field goal was made, by the way. I just want.
Okay, good. Yeah, go Lions. Tickets available at lindenwoodlions.com. We always appreciate you taking the time to join us here on the show. Good luck this weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Love it, guys. We'll see you Saturday. Take care.
All right, Jed, take care. See you. Jed Stugart, he is the head football coach at Lindenwood University. They're 2-3, and they do have a chance to win that OVC and get into the NCAA playoffs this year.
Okay, that's obviously huge. I love D1 football in St. Louis is a great thing to be had. I love what Lindenwood's doing. Everything gets a little bit more interesting when you mentioned it. Missouri State now is involved as well. Get all the D1 programs you possibly can. Keep raising up the bar.
Yeah. Missouri State starting off with USC and SMU this year. They had their hands full.
Yeah, that was tough. But hey, they had that 3-0 lead against USC, and that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. A great job, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a great Matthew Rocchio. Wilson, as always, doing a great job of getting us on the air. We appreciate you being a part of it. And thanks to our friends at DraftKings, because STL Sports Central is brought to you by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you tomorrow right here on STL Sports Central.